The San Francisco 49ers have traded for pass rushing specialist and former New York Jet Bryce Huff. What does it mean? We'll talk about all that and break it down right after this. Welcome, everybody. Let's go Niners. My name is Jason Aponte. I'm Jason Aponte, and yes, you don't have to say it. I do need a new intro video badly, and we'll get to that. But the San Francisco 49ers and the Philadelphia Eagles have come to an agreement on moving Bryce Huff, edge rusher, from Philadelphia to San Francisco, while the Philadelphia Eagles take on $9 million of the contract. Now, what does this mean? Well, last night, if you watched the show with Brian Peacock and I was saying that a situational pass rusher was the last thing the 49ers needed to make this defensive line whole, to make this defensive line feel better. And I threw out names like Zadarius Smith, even Von Miller, Jadeveon Clowney's out there, but I also explained that Jadeveon Clowney is a redundant move since he's far better at stopping the run on base downs than he is rushing the passer. So that was my thought process, was a veteran pass rusher who would come here for nothing. This move has far more upside based on his age, based on his production with Robert Saleh. Now, if you're wondering, and I'm sure you are, what happened in Philly and why didn't it all translate? Well, a few things can be true. The trade, change of scenery, and Vic Fangio's scheme, it didn't all fit. It didn't all fit for Bryce Huff. Meaning the 3-4 scheme that Fangio likes to run a lot, and to be fair, it wasn't something that he exclusively ran in Philly. He just amended it because of how much talent they had up front. That's another factor that you really need to throw into the Bryce Huff thing. But as an edge, he plays better with his hand in the ground as opposed to standing up. Now, if you want to correlate it to the 49ers, remember when Vic Fangio was the defensive coordinator for those great 49ers teams, 3 down linemen and an outside linebacker, meaning Ahmad Brooks, who was out there. It wasn't necessarily an edge, but it worked out that way, in that scheme. So a few things can be true. Huff, the trade, the change of scenery didn't help. The Vic Fangio scheme wasn't a fit. And he has to get back to the basics, right? Also, I wouldn't use him as a run defender. And this is what I was talking about last night with Brian Peacock, was the situational pass rusher. I don't want to see you on base downs. Base downs, it should be Bosa, Collins, West, Michael. Base downs to stop the run, to put you in positions to use your situational pass rusher, and this NASCAR package, which would be Bosa, Collins, Yetur Gross-Matos instead of Collins, Michael, and Huff. I wonder what this NASCAR package is going to look like, because it can go one of two ways. Bosa, Collins, Michael, and Huff. Or if they're looking for more speed, because we know that Yetur Gross-Matos is very versatile, Yetur Gross-Matos, Bosa, Michael, and Huff. It's going to be very interesting. And I think a lot of this obviously has to do with, the running joke, San Francisco Jets, for sure. Get your jokes off, because how could you not? Look how many Jets are here. But then think back to when Saleh went to the Jets, how many 49ers followed him? So there is this familiarity that you need to have with the system, comfortability that they have, but a few things are true. This is not a home run, pickup, but it's a very good pickup with the upside of Huff, meaning he can be a guy that can ascend back to the heights that he was when he was with the Jets. And I want to illustrate that, because I want to point out how good he was in with the Jets, right? I'm sorry, I'm just pulling up the screen. Okay. So in Philadelphia last year, he had 298 snaps. 189 were pass rushing snaps. 8 were coverage for whatever reason. And I don't know how they dictate that. But in 189 pass rushing snaps, 23 total pressures, 2 sacks, a quarterback hit, and 20 hurries. That's not terrible. So when you tell me this is the idea of like, oh, well, he was awful. He wasn't awful. He just fell out of the rotation. I don't think those are awful pressure numbers. But let's dig a little bit further. 2022, only 191 total snaps, but 173 were as a pass rusher, 16 on run defense. That's how you should use him. 90.4 defensive grade, 88.0 pass rushing on 173 pass rushes, 36 total pressures, 4 sacks, 8 hits, 24 hurries. That's insanely efficient. Now, in 2023, that number doubled. 173, 334 to about 170 snaps. So we'll say doubled. 86.8 pass rushing grade. Double the pressure, 67. Double the sacks, 10 over 4, even more than that. 12 quarterback hits to 8. 45 hurries to 24. So do you see the vision for this player? It's not necessarily this slam dunk, home run, out of this world pickup, right? But if you want a Joey Bosa, right, who never plays, and then you look at this move and you say, well, I'm not really. One has far more upside than the other. Joey Bosa's hurt already. If you would have laid both these players in front of me knowing what I know about how he was last year and how this looks, moving into this and how he used to look, turn it down. I would have taken Bryce Huff 10 out of 10 times over Joey Bosa. Just is what it is. Sorry. Shout out to everybody else. What's going on here? Again, if you're here, just drop a like on this video. 7 minutes and 32 seconds. The 49ers have traded for their situational pass rusher that we have been begging for. Bryce Huff from the Philadelphia Eagles, formerly of the New York Jets. Robert Saleh's old running mate is back. T.O., shout out to Terrell Owens. Most Philly YouTube channels are laughing at this trade. Most Philly YouTubers don't really know what they're talking about. So that's there, There are some good ones, but yeah, for the most part, I wouldn't be tripping on anything that they have to say. Of course they're going to feel like that. But what are they laughing at? The fact that they're going to be paying half of the salary for him to play for the 49ers? Are they laughing at the fact that Bryce Huff is going to easily return more on investment when he gets his snaps with the 49ers? Are they laughing at the idea that, maybe they're so loaded that they don't need Bryce Huff? I don't know. But what are you laughing about? This is your God, Howie Roseman, admitting to a mistake and doing so much to move on from Bryce Huff that they would pay half the salary. The 49ers salary cap situation with this move, they had the second highest amount of cap available. They plummeted, like Kyle Posey said, to number 2. This is the lowest risk, highest reward. It doesn't push the 49ers far ahead of the Eagles because I still think, unfortunately, guys, the 49ers are behind them. But little moves like this, when you compare it to the personnel, you compare it to who's going to be the one calling the defensive plays, how do you not look at this as a win for the 49ers and the Eagles? The Eagles got a 3rd-round pick. Cool, but you're paying him to play for the 49ers. What are you laughing at? Every time you praise Howie Roseman, and I guess this is the wrong time to say this because they just won a Super Bowl, you got to say, hey, listen, that was a miss. You brought him in here. You knew Vic Fangio was going to be running whatever he was going to be running, and it didn't work. What are you laughing at? It's funny to me. Shout out to everybody in here. Over 50 people in here, about 10 minutes. Please drop a like on this video. Helps us out a ton with the algorithm. The 49ers traded for former New York Jet edge and former Philadelphia Eagle edge, Bryce Huff, and he will be joining the fold June 1st. I love the timing of it, right? You know, OTAs and everything as well too. Somebody who's going to get to be able to step right back in, understands what they're going to be running. But I want to talk about some of the schematic things that I think are going to happen. Cheers, everybody. So, the 49ers have their situational pass rusher. Let's operate under the assumption the NASCAR package is going to be Nick Bosa, Mykel Williams, Yetur Gross-Matos, and Bryce Huff. So what does this mean? Yetur Gross-Matos can play inside-outside. So can Mykel Williams. You get Mykel Williams on the edge on base downs to contain the run. Then you really start to get greedy with Yetur and Mykel on the inside. You know, you have Mykel standing over a guard. You have Bryce Huff on the other side. And you run a twist and a stunt. And there's going to be far more in this pass rush than just what it was in 2019, which was Nick Bosa, DeForest Buckner, Eric Armstead, and D Ford going just 4, right? Just send 4. I've got 4. You can't block us up front. 4 on 4, you can't. You can't. Turn down. 4 on 4, you can't. Here, while you're waiting for Mykel Williams to return, you know, whatever investment it is you have, obviously a first-round pick, man, you can really get creative now. Let's even take it a step further. Obvious passing downs, ways that you want to really go after it, cool. Those are going to be your 4, let's just say. Nick Martin was extremely effective as a pass rusher in the year before last. And that's how he was used. We're going to send 5 now at you because we're good on the back end. We feel good about Diamador Lenore, Renardo Green, and the rest of our coverage. And we feel good with having Fred Warner. I mean, Fred Warner's been carrying wide receivers up the seam, you know, like nothing. Schematically, this is going to look a lot different. You're going to see a lot more creativity when it comes to what Robert Saleh is able to do with this personnel. The personnel has now allowed flexibility. When you have players like Yetur and Mykel who can play inside, then you get your best players on the field and you start to really have advantageous matchups, especially on downs, again, that you know, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, 3rd and 11. We know we can get done here. But that's what I expect. I don't expect just, you know, rush 4 and nothing. I think you're looking at your NASCAR package of Bosa, Yetur, Gross-Matos, Mykel, and Huff, and you feel good about that. The 49ers have been searching for that speed rushing edge since D Ford. Say whatever you want about D Ford. The 49ers were a few moments away from making that trade look like genius. Because if he never plays another down for the 49ers after that, which he rarely did, you win a championship, though. And he was a big part of that. And it's like what Brian Peacock said last night. The 49ers went into the season handing Robert Saleh over the keys and saying, how do we remake this defense? And he said, I need my DJ Jones type, CJ West. I need my, I need my bull up front, that is going to be on the other side, speed rusher, Bryce Huff. I need my Dre Greenlaw type, Nick Martin. I need my K'Wan Williams, Upton Stout. So it's very much the 49ers absolutely turning the keys over to Robert Saleh and saying, please help us and fix us. And also Robert Saleh having a type. He's got a type at almost every single position. And that's interesting because that can go one of two ways. One, you can find a way to at least get close because I think it would be, look, I'm as optimistic as anybody, but I would think that it's a little hard to say that the 49ers defensive line is going to return the production from 2019. Look, Bosa, Buckner, Armstead, D Ford, you're not going to have better talent than that. I don't think that you're going to return that sort of production, but you are going to return that sort of impact at times, right? And with the defensive line, when we're talking about CJ West and Alfred Collins, you have to take the bumps and the bruises, right? And that's going to be a lot of what this season is bumps and bruises, but those will be on base downs. If they are doing their job on base downs and they are stopping the run, then the development will come and the 49ers will be able to feast in places that they weren't able to last year, namely third down when they couldn't get off the field and they didn't have closers. Now you do. Now you have closers. Now you have someone who is going to evolve with the scheme. We heard Fred Warner talk about how he spoke with John Lynch, and John Lynch talked about how much he loved the evolution of Robert Saleh's scheme. But everything points to this turning over to Robert Saleh and Robert Saleh's type for what he wants from a prototypical defense. And it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. But I'll tell you this, I've been clamoring for a situational pass rusher. I threw out names that I thought weren't going to need a trade. So Darius Smith is somebody, again, that I kept throwing out there. These are guys that you could just sign for $1 million and you can keep the draft capital. But doesn't this imply that Robert Saleh is not here for just one season? Right? Think about this. If Robert Saleh, and he's going to have, no doubt, head coaching interviews, right? But Robert Saleh is making drastic choices for the 49ers in their future. This isn't a one-year fix. You drafted all these players to be here for a while, right? And then you make a move for Huff, who's not going to be here for 1 year, it seems like, right? He has a contract, and the Philadelphia Eagles are paying some of that. But it definitely feels like this is going to be a 1 or 2 year thing. Now, the question becomes, who takes over after Robert Saleh? And do they have the same vision? So we went from Robert Saleh to DeMeco Ryans. DeMeco Ryans has been on staff. Do the 49ers make a move from Robert Saleh after 1 or 2 years? And I think the reason that he probably sticks around the 2 years is because then they can abuse the Rooney Rule again and get another conditional pick. But is it KJ Wright? I don't know. But there's a lot of moves here that feel like they're pushing the 49ers into a few years. And the implication that Robert Saleh is going to be here for a year and leave, I don't know if they would allow him to make these types of moves and rebuild his defense in this way if he wasn't going to be here for more than a year. Again, just my perspective, could be completely wrong. I guarantee you that Robert Saleh is going to get head coaching, interviews this offseason. Guarantee you. I mean, he got it last offseason when he was let go by the Jets. Last offseason, the Jacksonville Jaguars, this offseason, the Jacksonville Jaguars, a bunch, the Dallas Cowboys, they all interviewed. And that led to the anxiety of 49ers fans because we're sitting here like, if you're playing that game about waiting for Robert Saleh and he signs as a head coach somewhere, oh, baby, now you're back to like a Nick Sorensen situation where you're just settling for somebody else. But I just think that given who they drafted, what they're trying to build, how this defense mirrors what he ran when he was here and the types of players, I just don't think this is a 1 year thing. I really don't. Like, doing all this for players that are going to be here for years and then leaving after a year, and then just hoping that the next person is able to utilize that personnel in the same way that you did, it would be a risk, but I don't know if they would allow him to do all that. Does that make sense? I'm not saying that there's no chance that he could stay, or that he would leave or whatever. There's no chance. Like, I'm not saying that. It's absolutely a chance. But these are decisions that are going to impact the 49ers down the road. And if you're looking to rebuild this defense in the mold of what you had, then the person who should be running it is the person that should be there. So just my 2 cents when it comes to that. I'm not sure where it goes, but like for me, when I'm looking at the way that you're building this and the way that you're utilizing draft capital, and it seems like they've turned this whole thing over to you, I have a hard time just seeing him just leaving after a year. That just feels, I don't know. if they didn't, I mean, they have no assurance that he'll stay, but they have to have a feeling, right? And I think they do. And I think that's what's important. But 20 minutes in, over 70 people in here, guys. Again, make sure you drop a like on this video. Again, if you're just joining us, the 49ers have traded for edge rusher Bryce Huff of the Philadelphia Eagles formerly and of the New York Jets formerly, and has addressed this defensive line. It certainly feels like the 49ers defensive line has finally rounded into form, because with all of the hype and the hope for CJ West, Alfred Collins, Michael Williams, the production is not there, right? And it felt like Collins and West. Collins is not on the contract either, by the way, yet, right? So they've still got to work that out, right? But it felt like those were your big bodies and holding up the line and holding up the run defense. And Michael, for all his skill set, just the production is not there. Now, he's not Shamar Stewart, right? Like, not that little production. But you did kind of have to have this period of, yeah, you want these guys to play. Yeah, you're confident that they'll play well, but you also needed veterans. You also needed guys who understand how to win in this league, and you also needed pass rush, right? And I think we kind of all saw that from the outside looking in, and the 49ers addressed it in a way that I never would have thought of. I thought it would be something of a, right before training camp type thing. Hey, let's bring in, this player for, ring chasers, guys who are going to play for, one more year, and they want to get a look at it. But this certainly feels like this is a long-term answer, right? Because of his age, right? I believe 25, 26, something like that is Huff. That's really good. Hold on, I got to double check that actually, because then that changes things a lot. 27. Okay. He'll be 28 next year. 27 years old. So he's got 3 more years of being high end, right? This feels like a high upside move. We can look at it right now and objectively say, hey, listen, he's coming off a down season. We're hoping for a bounce back. All the things are there for him. The former coach and, the scheme fit and who's going to be around him. All those things are there. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to correlate and translate. But when you look at this and you look at how much the Philadelphia Eagles are actually going to pay early on, and a lot of the stuff is going to be, I think if you're looking at his contract, it's incentive based, meaning he has qualifiers to hit things to make money. If he does all those things and you have to pay him a little bit more, that's great because it greatly impacts your defense. But Bryce Huff should be on the field just for situational pass rushing. I made the funny joke. I don't know if it's that funny or whatever. I thought it was a good analogy, right? Stop asking me if Bryce Huff can stop the run. It doesn't matter. That's not what he's here for. Would you ask your plumber to fix your roof? You wouldn't. So don't ask that. He's not going to be in on base downs. He's your closer on third down. He's your undersized speed rush guy on third down. Don't worry about the run defense. The run defense is improved. Wes Collins and Michael and Bosa, they got it. They got it. There's no way this run defense can be any worse than it was last year, almost, by default. But when it's 3rd and 7, 3rd and 8, and you need someone to finish, it's going to be Bryce Huff, who you're going to see on the field. And it's probably going to be Yetur Gross-Matos and Michael and Bosa. And that's a hell of a NASCAR package. Is it comparable to 2019? No. Still a hell of a job, and it's still a hell of a team right there, because Bosa is still good enough. Turn it down. Bosa's still good enough to impact the game in different ways. You get those big bodies up front again. Yetur Gross-Matos can play inside, outside. Michael can move inside, and then you have Bryce Huff. It's going to be tough to stop. I'm very happy with this move. I think the defensive line is now rounded into shape. They probably might add somebody else because, knock on wood, an injury, something like that, a surprise cut. I don't know. They'll probably add somebody else. But as far as personnel fit, this isn't a guy that you needed to be on in base downs. You didn't need him for every down. You needed him in the times where you've had a tough time closing and finishing, which is what you saw last year. Two things the 49ers has struggled with. One of them was not coverage. Coverage was great. Two things that they struggled with: run defense, finishing on third downs, and finishing and ending drives. Those are the things that they've addressed. Run defense has to be better because there's no way it can be worse. Now you have your team of rushers and speed rushers and guys who can finish on third down. Now that is complete. It feels complete now. Now I feel far better about this defensive line than we did. You know what's funny? Think about where we were when Malik Collins, Leonard Floyd, and Javon Hargrave, and all these guys get let go, right? And think about the jokes that were made. Well, who's going to start? Evan Anderson and Sammy O, and I think they're great players as well too. Sammy O, and then this guy and that guy, and now look, and the plan was always in place when it came to like how they were going to draft and everything as well too, because again, when the 49ers bring Robert Saleh back, and I'm sure they begged him, please come back, and he said, okay, well, I know you're desperate now. You need to do exactly what I'm saying here if we're going to fix this. You do all that, and then you end up, with the little cherry on top, which is Bryce Huff. This isn't a home run out of this world. Like, you didn't get a Micah Parsons type guy, but you got a guy who fits perfectly for what you want to do, right? Speed rusher, undersized, only on the field for rotational, and for situational pass rush. How could you not be excited about this? And when you factor in the cost, which it cost the 49ers nothing this year, the Philadelphia Eagles are going to be paying half his salary as well too. Masterclass. And now we have to talk about this offseason in a completely different light. We were all excited after the draft. The draft with their free agents and this in tandem this pushes this offseason further up. And he hasn't even got to the building yet. But I really enjoy this move. I think that you're building this defensive line the exact way that you're supposed to. And the name may not jump you out of your socks or anything like that. But man, the player and the skill set, that should, and I think they are betting on a bounce back season. They definitely are looking for something that they didn't see last season. And again, that's based on Vic Fangio, his scheme and everything, right? But Bryce Huff fits immediately right now with Robert Saleh, with his need, situational pass rusher, get him on the field. When it's third down, don't worry about base downs. I don't care about base downs with Bryce Huff. Again, that's not his role, right? Somebody else made a joke. They were like, well, can my quarterback run routes? You wouldn't use your quarterback as a wide receiver. Like you have to look at it with the tandem of everybody else. So 100% love this move. Is it gonna move the needle and say, hey, listen, the 49ers are gonna win the Super Bowl? I mean, the 49ers are gonna win the Super Bowl even before this, so this only just adds to it, but obviously I'm being sarcastic. But yeah, this is a good move. This is a very, very good move. And I think that it kind of came out of nowhere, and I assumed it would be a veteran pass rusher as opposed to somebody who is 27, who's going to turn 28 next April. This is great. I love this move, and the 49ers are moving themselves right into the position they need to with the right person to lead them with Robert Saleh. And then, you should feel far better about this defense than we did during the first wave of free agency when everybody was walking away from this team. So almost 30 minutes in here, 75 people in here. Guys, drop a like on this. Again, the 49ers trade for edge rusher Bryce Huff, formerly of the Philadelphia Eagles and the New York Jets. And I think it's the final piece for the San Francisco 49ers. Cheers, guys. I'll stick around for a little while because, God, the Yankees don't play for another hour. They're playing the Dodgers, so I got some time. Send in some questions, anything like that. Shout out to all the channel members. I see Tony in here. I see Vish in here, man. I see Rob. What's up? Jonathan Rayers, this guy still streams. Yes, the fuck I do. Cry about it. Please send in any sort of questions that you have, anything like that. You want to talk about anything different? I feel like I've explained this thing way more than I need to. Jamal says Dodgers, sunglasses. Listen, if the Yankees win 2 out of 3, we don't get a World Series back, so who cares, man? But Aaron Judge can help stop the whole who's the best baseball player in the world discussion. I'll drink to that. Let's see. All right. I'm gonna get to that one, Iceman. Would Collins be good to go for training camp? I'm assuming that they'll figure out the contract. I think it was Brian or somebody else that really brought up a good point. Or it might have been Rob, one of them, about like the second round guys getting a whole bunch of like guaranteed money. And I think that's what he's like looking at. And I think there's a few of them that haven't really signed. So I think it's that. I think it's a little bit of like, oh, the guaranteed money for this guy and this guy, like, you know, I think they're all looking around. There's nothing but time right now. I'm not too worried about it right now, but I would be lying if I said that I would love for him to be there. Again, the phases of off-season stuff are going to be, you know, you learn addition, you learn subtraction, you learn multiplication, you learn division. Now let's move on to fractions. Now let's move on to geometry. You have to compound all that stuff, and that's what all these phases are right now. That's what all these phases are. And none of it's going to be physical. They started 11 on 11 stuff, so you don't want to jump out the window like when you see that stuff too. But I mean the injury rumors about him. He should be fine. I'm not tripping about that. If he's too much like Javon Kinlaw because they're trying to fit that or whatever, if he's too much like Javon Kinlaw, then we've got a big problem. But I wouldn't worry about that. Okay, so apologize for everything else that I said. I'm not overly concerned with the injury, so we'll say that. Iceman 0072, you watch Sinners? I have not. And I'm actually really ashamed of myself because I'm a cinema lover. And I'm actually even more disappointed because it's not going to be in its intended format in IMAX. And what's funny is that's the way that I would want to see it. I'm probably going to watch it in a few days when it comes out, you know, on streaming, and, you know, I'll be able to rent it or buy it, and that's fine. But I'm very disappointed that I didn't see it in its intended form by Ryan Coogler because there's only been 2 movies that have been shot in that same format. One was The Hateful Eight, which I'm a huge Quentin Tarantino film lover, and 2 was Ben-Hur from 1960 something with Charlton Heston. And if you watch that chariot scene, the screen opens up more because it was shot and that's why it looks so beautiful still. So I guess this is my way of complaining and saying that I dropped the ball here, man. I'm really sad about that. So, but thank you for that question. All right, let's get back to the football. Now that Huff is coming over, is there any other post June 1 acquisition you would want to have happen? Probably Julian Blackmon now at this point. Justin Simmons I don't think he's signed, but my thing is we don't know the severity of Malik's injury. Jair Brown's going to be out until training camp. Julian Blackmon is somebody that can step right in right away. Like, do you feel great about Jason Pinnock? I see the vision, but I don't know. Richie Grant, I don't know. I think Blackman's better than both. Haverly, Blackman's better than both. And I think if all goes right, Blackmon can push to start, and if that means he's pushing to start, that means he's great. So that's the guy that I'm probably looking at is either Blackmon, and if Justin Simmons available, then it's Justin Simmons without hesitation. He's not going to give that job back. Now I wonder again, and I talked about this with Brian Peacock. I wonder if the whole idea of we have a bunch of rookies and we want to see them play, Marcus Siegel, right? Like maybe that's your answer. About Gladstone, the general manager for the Jaguars, saying we didn't sign veteran guys because we want our guys to play. I wonder if the 49ers feel that same way because Bryce Huff being added doesn't step on anyone's toes, right? He has a role. That's not stepping on anyone's toes. You're not getting in the way of developing, right? Because Michael Williams is going to be on base downs regardless, and he'll be pass rushing. Like, you know, this is the NFL now. The NFL now, they pass on first down. It's not like how it used to be in the Stone Age, right? No matter how much Brian Schottenheimer wants to take it back to the Stone Age as the Cowboys head coach, They don't run on first and second down all the time, right? So he's going to have his pass rushing chances. He's not stepping on any toes. I wonder if the 49ers feel like that, and they're just like, listen, we're going to roll. Marcus Siegel will bring in Pinnock. I don't know how long Malik's going to be out, and it sounds like Tig is going to be fine for training camp, but it would probably be in that move. And this is kind of going to what, what move do you see next? 49er reefer. And then what Danny's saying, are we going to pick up a safety? I think that's really where, I'm kind of going, because that's where else can they go at this point? Everything else is solidified, right? At this point, there's no offensive lineman walking on the street that you will start over any of these guys on the team right now. So, I mean, unless you want to load up for depth, but we're talking about what could happen, right? And I think the 49ers have already done a bad job of not preparing for the worst, right? Shout out to my boy Jamal. Even if he is a Dodgers fan, he's still the homie. Are you concerned with Pearsall and these hammy injuries? I wouldn't say I'm too concerned, but once it's happened multiple times, I'll keep an eye on it. I'll be honest with you, Jamal. What my biggest problem and issue is with this is I just wanted him to get in and start to build this rapport, right? And I know he's been throwing the football with Purdy and everything as well, too, but it's the second off season of this, right? He had the hamstring issue before the unfortunate situation, where he got shot. I think the 49ers need him to work. They need it. Why? He's a first-round pick. They chose him over Cooper DeJean. Meanwhile, Cooper DeJean is 360 dunking basketballs, and had a phenomenal season with Philadelphia. But yeah, I'm less concerned, I think, about the injury itself than I'm saying, like, I'm more concerned about him not being involved again for a second off season. And that is something that's a little bit frustrating. And again, it's not his fault. He's injured. It is what it is. But man, if there was ever a time right now for him to get absolutely involved right away, they need him to work. They need him to work. He's the first round pick. This isn't something where you're just like, Ricky Pearsall was drafted in the 4th round. Who cares? No, this is your future. When you drafted him, you said either Brandon Ayuk or Deebo Samuel's not going to be here. He's the future. You need him to work. You need him to work. Now, if we want to go positive, and this is what I was saying last night, Demarcus Robinson's going to be suspended. Brandon Ayuk's going to miss the first 4 weeks. Ricky Pearsall, he's giving a little bit of time before training camp. This is Jacob Cowing's time. This is Jacob Cowing's time. And I think the world of that young man. I think he's a phenomenal route runner. I think that he's strong at the catch point. I think that he's fast. I think he can play over the middle. Give him the door. Open it. Kick the door down now. Make it that you can't be denied being on the field. Demarcus Robinson is not offering you the upside that Jacob Cowing is. Demarcus Robinson is a floor play. Jacob Cowing is somebody that you drafted to help be your future. Far better route runner than people give him the credit for. Far better player than people believe. And if you listen to Ted McMillan, when Brad Graham asked him who's the best player he's ever played with, he said, Jacob Cowing is the best wide receiver I've ever played with. Don't take it from me. Take it from somebody who was a first-round pick who will be starting for the Carolina Panthers next year and went to Arizona. It's time, man. It's time. Iceman said, what the fuck movie of the year? Hey, I'll watch it. I just didn't watch it in its proper, I'm just disappointed in myself because I'm a cinephile. I'm one of those guys that when they say this movie was shot in this format, I want to see it in that format. I blew it, man. I just blew it. I blew it. All right, Jamal again. Also, if you give us one breakout candidate this year, who do you got? This one's hard. You can use any one of the rookies. I think it's a little bit of a cop-out to use Renardo Green because I feel like he broke out last year. Ricky Pearsall is popular because of a first-round pick, right? Breakout player this year. I was going to troll and say Colton McKivitz, but I really do think that Colton McKivitz is going to have a really good year this year, and he's going to get a bag. He is going to get a bag. don't get it fucked up in the slightest. He is going to get a bag this offseason unless he just falls completely flat on his face, because living, breathing tackles with a pulse who can play football, they get paid. So he's going to get paid, not by the 49ers, but he's going to get paid. But I do think Colton McKivitz is going to have a really good year. And I do think that a lot of 49ers fans that have been shitting on him as like the worst lineman, he's not the worst lineman, not even close on this offensive line. Don't know why he gets all of it when you look at return on investment and everything, but I'm not going to say he's going to break out. I'll give you a better answer. I do think it's going to be Jacob Cowing. And I do think that Jacob Cowing's time is now. If you checked out Kyle Posey's tweet about him talking with the trainer that works with both of them, Cowing has put on weight, looks like he's about to be a difference maker. That is probably who I would, if I was going from the outside, because it's easy to just say Renardo Green or Ricky Pearsall. Yeah, they better fucking break out, because they're important. Like they're very important. I'm talking about somebody who is on the outside that really is going to need his way to work in. I would probably say Jacob Cowing. So let's see. Shout out to Benali, always commenting. Appreciate you. Lynch on KNBR sounded like they want to roll over cap space the next season in 2026 when they're expecting more cap constraints. So I don't know if I expect big moves. You won't see any big moves going forward. The plan is always to roll over the cap space in accordance with the cap increase that's going to happen. But at the trade deadline, the 49ers will be players for 1-year guys that are going to ring chase and join from other teams. I guarantee you that. They won't be counting to next year's cap or anything like that. If the 49ers are in a position and they're there and it's about like week 9, week 10, and they're 8-2 and they know they need one little piece and it's there, I guarantee you the 49ers are going to be working those phones at the trade deadline and trying to get somebody in for one of their 300 comp picks that they have. And, they still have all their picks. They still haven't traded all those guys. I absolutely wouldn't say that there's any big moves coming now because there aren't big players left. Everybody else that's left right now is either looking for the right situation or is ring chasing, right? Wide receiver, Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen. Okay. But the thing is like, that's going to get in the way of like Brandon Ayuk coming back, because they're just not going to sit on the bench after that. So I don't see them making a move there. You look at CJ Mosley at linebacker, maybe, but that doesn't cost you anything. There's not big moves left to be made. This Bryce Huff move is the closest thing that you get to a big move, and it's you trading for a 27-year-old situational pass rusher where the Philadelphia Eagles are going to pay $9 million of that money. So, there's no real big moves, but I do think the 49ers are going to be players at the trade deadline, 100%. Let's see. Shout out to everybody in here. Again, over 100 people. This is a good one. Isaac Guerrero. I believe in Isaac Guerrero. I believe in Jacob Cowing. Not only because those are the 2 draft picks that I got right that entire draft, but I do believe in them as players, and I do think that's a very good call out right now. Let's see. Jamal says, what does Cowing's role look like if he does break out? Some of the Debo things plus a true deep threat. I and I know you're not saying this, Jamal. I despise a little bit of like the whole Jacob Cowing is just a deep threat. He's the deep threat because he's the fastest on the roster besides now Jordan Watkins, right? But don't get it fucked up. Like, he can run routes. Like, he can run blaze outs. He can run over the middle. Like, he runs routes. Just because he's the fastest on the roster doesn't mean that you just need to run him on 9 routes just to clear everything out. Yeah, that can be occasionally in the bag, but I think far more of the player than to just, utilize him in that way. I don't think he's just that. I really don't. I think when you watch it, it's just littered all over the film that he slants, sluggos, whatever, whatever you need this young man to run. He knows how to run the routes. He's far better of a route runner than people are giving him credit for. And just because he's small and fast, they think that's all he can do, which is just take the top off of defenses. He can do that, but don't just use him in that way, right? So we're gonna see. I think we're gonna see. For me, I think what he'll be is a lot more of a crutch on third down. If we're talking about breaking out, right? Because I think you have to, let's just visualize what the 49ers starting wide receivers are going to be. It's going to be X, Juwan Jennings, Z, Ricky Pearsall, and then, DeMarcus Robinson is not going to be there. So Cowing's probably going to get himself on the field, in the F spot, wherever it is. But that third down role, right? Like that, get to the stakes, get down, and, like that rapport has to be built with Purdy. So I think that's where it will start. But when you start to see the explosives that you can get off of him just running routes, that's where his role is going to move up. I hope I answered the question more than anything. Shout out to John V. Let's fucking go, Jason. Shout out to you, man. I appreciate that. Turn it down. Dieter Kurtenbach, shout out to Tony, channel member. Dieter Kurtenbach put out the idea of Jalen Ramsey to play safety. Jalen Ramsey has really done a good, really, really good job of like extending his career because they moved him into slot. Avery, please turn it down. Thank you, baby. He's done a really good job of extending his career. And he like played in the slot in Miami. He was an all-pro over there as well, too. I don't hate that idea, but if that's the case, then no more Tig, and you spent draft capital on him, right? So what do? You just keep him around for depth, and Malik will be there, but then Siegel gets a year, and it's just like if Jalen Ramsey's here, that's a 1-year fix, in my opinion. And he's not going to be cheap either because he doesn't need to take a cheap contract unless he just doesn't care about money anymore and he just wants to win. But if I'm him, I have a chance to cash in one last time. I don't think the 49ers are going to allocate extra money to him. He deserves it. He's played very well. He's extended his career far more than I thought he ever would. But he's been very good. It's a good idea. I'm not gonna lie. Fair enough, you getting me on the Cowing hype train. Hey man, I'm just talking. Where is Trent Williams? 916-49er. I don't know. He'll be all right. He'll be there. Look, if I'm talking about all the players that, again, and I've talked about continuity and I talked about, the 49ers needing to start fast. He's the one I'm least worried about. Now, let's think about it. Sure, his age, right? You want to bring him along, fine, or whatever. He's going to miss games. Bottom line, he's going to miss games. I don't need him getting hit. Bubble wrap him, get him ready, put him out there week 1. I can't say the same for a lot of people. I don't want that for a lot of other people, particularly on offense. I don't want that. But him, I have the least amount of concerns. And I don't think the 49ers would allow him to make some sort of move where he's just like, yeah, you know what? I retire. You know why? 2 things. 1, they would have already sniffed that out. And which is why, again, my tinfoil hat theory is that DJ Humphries is not here because they got the sign from Trent that he's going to be here. Almost similar to how Joe Staley let him know, like, hey, listen, I'm about to retire. And they like traded for Trent and just like pulled the rug out from everybody else. And 2, you're not turning down that fucking bag. That's a lot of money to turn down and just play. That's another $23 million payday. How many more of those you got left in you? I am not worried about Trent Williams. I think he absolutely is going to play. I'm not tripping about that at all. Let's see. Jay Gotti says, great move. I agree. Rob D said, Trent did 2 step-ups, best shape of his life. Hey, listen, I called who was going to declare themselves as in the most, and you know what? Kyle Shanahan did it. The best shape of his life, Christian McCaffrey. He could have said, never a doubt. Wasn't tripping about that at all. But yeah, let's see. Vish, Trent is still very good when he plays. He'll let them know when he wants to retire. That money is too much to turn down. There is no way you are going to tell me that Trent Williams is going to walk away in retirement when he has one more $20 million year on the table, and all he has to do is show up for training camp and just get rolling, and they'll take it easy on him, and then he has one more year on his body. I'd be shocked if Trent Williams walked away from that amount of money, on top of the fact that I really believe that he wants to win a ring and that he believes in Brock Purdy. I think that he might have been inclined to retire before, but then Brock got there and the 49ers ran it up and he got super close again. And he wants that idea and one more look at it. I do. What am I basing that off of? Nothing. Vibes. As I usually do. This is a channel that's running on vibes. But I do think that Trent Williams is going to be fine, and I'm not tripping about that at all. So yes, absolutely, I think Trent Williams is going to be here. Can't turn down that money. Can't turn down that chance to run it back one more time. Rob D says, I'd let Bosa sack me for $20 million. Shit. He could pick me up and slam me through a table for $20 million. I did one sack, I'm good. You know what I'm saying? I'll be in the hospital for a bit, but that'll cover the expenses. I'm fine with that. Rob, I, I'd let Nick Bosa powerbomb me through a table, just like the Dudley Boys or something like that. Oh my God, John V, thank you so much for the generous donation. $20, a 20 bean. Let's clap it up, John V. Avery, clap it up. Yeah. Say thank you. Thank you. All right. John V says, my guy, lately you've been cooking with your takes, especially overreactions, and I'm here for it all, bro. You've been spot on from A to Z with Rob, Peacock, Andrew, and Steph. You're a day one creator for me, bro. John, thank you so much for your generous donation. The words are even kinder. That means so much more. I try to be objective. I also want to give you guys the passion that you guys show, and I also want to let you know I'm one of you. And I have opinions just like you. Doesn't mean that my opinion's right, wrong. I just try to give that same sort of passion that you guys have brought here. It's crazy to, like, today I kind of looked at the channel and I was looking and I was like, man, almost 8,400 subscribers. Like, I don't define my success by numbers, but it does humble me to know that so many of you guys have been sticking around for so long, man, and have been rocking with me. And we have the newer people and everything, but I just remember, a lot of times, and I'm not trying to get like emotional, but I remember like a lot of the times when I first started this channel, if I got 100 views on a video, over 3 months, I'd be through the roof. And I used to be doing live streams and having like 2 and 3 viewers, and that gets frustrating. You can't lie about that. You want people to connect with you and be able to like build this community. I don't care what the number is. You might have more subscribers. I don't care. I am good with what's for me and what I've built and who's here. And that'll always be the way I feel. I don't ever allocate my success to any sort of number. I allocate it to the names that I keep seeing every single time in the chat, the people that fuck with me heavy, that have continued to stick with me, that have continued to come back over and over, that continue to help me out. I appreciate you guys, man. And John, thank you so much again for your donation, bro. I appreciate you so much, man. I really love seeing the same names over and over. I really love seeing the people that we have inside jokes, with our community, and you guys hit me on Twitter, like, and that's the type of stuff that like no sort of number can really put a price tag on, so I appreciate you guys, man. And John says, always, bro. Jason, East Coast Niner passion. Oh my God, you guys, if you're coming out here for this Giants Niners game, please do, because it's going to be really big. So many of my friends are Giants fans. So many people are going to be traveling to New York. Please come out here. There's going to be a lot of really good events and everything out here as well, too. I'll show you around, grab a beer, all that stuff. I can't wait to connect with 49ers fans. We don't play here a lot. So again, the last time they played here was 2020, and we weren't allowed because it was COVID. So it's been a while. It's 2025. Bringing it back. Like I've been to, 2 games in that stadium with the 49ers, and Cap was the quarterback for both of them. Think about that. That's how long ago it was. So yeah, I would love to see you guys, man. I really appreciate it. Raymond says, you always been solid. Appreciate you, man. Dusty says, Jason, if you switched a Giants fan, you'll get more subs. I know you're a Yankee loyalist. Dusty, I love my community. I love what you guys stand for. But the one thing that's a non-negotiable, my father's from the Bronx. It's either be a Yankees fan or live on the street. And I can't afford to have my father disown me. I don't live with my father, but I can't afford to have him disown me. And I've done too many things, right? Like I've learned, like my GOAT is Derek Jeter. I can't get away. I was like, I get to watch Aaron Judge play baseball every single day. I'm sorry. I will say this. If this will help me endear myself to the Giants fans watching, Oracle Park is the most beautiful stadium I've ever been to in my life, and no other stadium compares. I don't even like Yankee Stadium like that. Let's just keep it a band. I don't even like Yankee Stadium like that. I think it's a museum. I think it's hollow. It feels like a buttoned up place. Let's bring back throwing beers at people like that. Like that's all gone in this new Yankee Stadium. It's very museum like. Oracle Park is by far the most beautiful stadium I've ever been to, and I'll stand on that. That's not me pandering. I guarantee you that's not me pandering. Jamal, if you're out here, gang, you already know what's going on. You know, you already know. We definitely linking. John says the Yankees is where I draw the line. You better pay to my ass as a Guardians fan. Listen, I got nothing to do with that. All right, if you want something, and we'll get back to football, I promise, guys. Again, 55 minutes in here, 90 people in here. Please throw up that like on the video. That helps us out a ton. If you want, one of the most painful memories I've ever had is the, at the time they weren't called the Guardians, and I'm not going to say their name, but, in 1997, the Yankees won the World Series in 96, and Mariano Rivera's up against Sandy Alomar in 97 in Cleveland. He hits a home run over the wall and effectively ends that series. It wasn't the series ender, but it just felt like that was the end of it. I remember being very sad about that. That was the first time that Derek Jeter saw losses, right, in the playoffs, right? So 96, he wins. 97, they lose to Cleveland. 98, 99, 2000, they win all those World Series. And then 2001 against the Arizona Diamondbacks, which is still my favorite World Series ever. The Yankees lose to Arizona, and Mariano Blue 97, Mariano Blue 2001, Mariano Blue 2004. We have a lot of wins, but we got losses too. So we've been through it, we've been through it a little bit. And also just remember this, Charlene's right. When the Yankees are winning, baseball's a real sport. When the Yankees are losing, baseball's not a real sport. And you should probably apply that to your own teams as everything as well too. Vish, not fam, as a New Jersey native that lives in CT, Yankees and Knicks and Niners. Man, that's crazy. Let's see. Jason, have you ever been mistaken for Howard Stern's long lost son? Nah, I just don't have the hair for it. I have the nose. I think that's what you're probably looking at. But I've been mistaken for Austin Rivers, John B. Now Chet Holmgren for some reason. So like you guys are just like, tell me who I'm supposed to look like so I know who to look like. But never Howard Stern. That's a new one for me. All right. At the end of the day, look, and this is where I'm going to end it because we're getting close to an hour. Again, if you're in here, 90 people in here, throw up a like real quick. That helps us out a ton. The Bryce Huff move isn't something that's going to knock your socks off. You aren't getting yourself a Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, right? That's fine. Personnel-wise, and everything that is driven towards how this defensive line is going to be built, Bryce Huff is a perfect fit. Scheme fit, again, knows the wide nine, knows Robert Saleh. That's perfect. And I think a lot of the struggles that he had last season were attributed to Vic Fangio, his scheme, and how they wanted him to use. And he fell out of favor. Whether that's, being discontent with his role and understanding that he was struggling with that, I don't know. I'm not going to be here to, try and throw up, any sort of reason, for any of that. But if you look at fit, you look at how he's going to be utilized, you look at age, this is a perfect move. And you look at money, right? Everybody's so worried about money. $9 million of this is going to be paid by Philadelphia. $9 million is going to be paid by the San Francisco 49ers. Drop in the bucket. The 49ers still had the second most cap space to roll over. They still have the second most cap space to roll over, even after this move. I think it's a great move. I think, again, personnel driven. Your base down guys, West, Collins, Michael, Bosa, your NASCAR package, Yetur Gross-Matos, Michael, Bosa, and Huff. I think it's great. And I think, again, with the evolution of Robert Saleh's scheme and how this team is going to roll and what they need, when you talk about being able to rush the passer on third down, you have to stop the run. And that's the way the 49ers are going to be built in 2025. Stop the run, have some fun. That's exactly how they did it in the draft. And Bryce Huff is part of have some fun. He's not going to be part of stopping the run. I don't want to see him on base downs, but he is going to be part of the team that is going to be on a NASCAR package getting after the quarterback. And turn it down. It really wants me to get up out of here. I am very happy with this move. It fits perfectly with everything and everything how it goes with how Robert Saleh is going right now. That'll do it for this episode of 49ers Talk. Appreciate everybody taking time out during their Friday to tap in. Thank you guys for the donations. Thank you guys for the comments. Thank you guys for the likes. Thank you guys for the views. I appreciate you guys so much. I'll probably be back Monday, but I'm going to probably take this weekend off. But again, I am very happy with this. You should be as well. The 49ers are cooking this offseason, and we didn't even see this one coming. So for Jay, and as always, let's go Niners. Welcome, everybody. Let's go Niners. My name is Jason Aponte.